This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Janice Pons. I'm the host on this podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspective, Spiritual Truth. Tonight, we're going to continue on this amazing journey that we've been on together, where we are really learning about how our nation is structured, how it's supposed to work, how we've been so off track from that structure. And this is why a lot of confusion is going on. This seal reminds us to pray for our president, the cabinet, their families. Our flag behind us reminds us of our nation. I'm continuing to purposefully pray for the 265,900,000 working Americans in 2024. They were living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet. I'm concerned about my fellow Americans, and I'm targeting them. Thank you for joining me in prayer. Last year, we've said this before. I'll say it again because it frames things. 79% of America said we were going in the wrong direction. They said, listen, we need to do something different. We voted. We did something different. And we have a different leader, Donald John Trump and his cabinet. Now, tonight, we are going to examine some things because, see, I'm getting more and more of a revelation as I observe what the Democratic Party is now doing. They are masters certain things. Never before have they been exposed the way they've been exposed now with DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. We're seeing some things that they did in terms of our taxpayer dollars and just the absolute diabolical patterns that were going on in terms of abuses of our taxpayer dollars and what they've done and how the American people really were not the priority. And so it just has expanded my scope, my understanding. You know, the Bible says wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, but in all thy getting, get understanding. And I'm just getting revelation on certain angles like, wow, this is really coming together. And I'm going to come on here and talk about it because if we get understanding together, people are going to get out of their emotions. And that's what the enemy of our soul does not want us to do. The enemy of our souls, read John 8:44, lies, 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 and wraps that up and cloaks it in emotionalism and keeps us in a tailspin. And that has specifically targeted specific groups of people in our nation for centuries. Oh, yeah. And so once you get an understanding of like, wait a minute, are they all lying? No, there's understanding to get in. Once the dots connect with basic logic, deductive reasoning, we're going to really go somewhere. And so that's a part of what I'm called to. I kind of realize it. So, and other things as well. And those things will be walked out. I ask you to continue to pray for me because we're going to go there with these things. And I want to say thank you so much for downloading this podcast. I want to give a shout out to Egypt. My listening audience includes, I was like, wow, okay, the analysis, Egypt, Singapore, Finland, Australia, Africa, and the United States of America. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I had said that last year the podcast had grown 1,200%. Well, the last statistics and data that I checked, it's grown 1,320%. Wow. Thank you. So obviously this is registering of the understanding of this, the interest thereof is there. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much. Continue. Let's pray together. Let's listen together. Come and let us reason together. So we're going to continue to examine these things. So tonight, we're going to examine something that has generated a lot of discussion in our nation. We the people gave a mandate. We're going to talk about the mandate of we the people. A mandate is simply a commission to do something. The course of walking out a mandate that was direly needed to turn this nation around evokes so many emotions from so many angles. People who want to keep us divided and not forming a more perfect union. It just simply means we're flowing together as one. Can you imagine that the enemy of our soul wants to keep us wrapped up in emotionalism that is all cloaked in lies so we cannot flow together as one? Do you see the diabolical agenda and the flow and the plan that he has had with us? And the Democratic Party has just led the way. They have. It's not hard to prove. And rhinos have been participants of it as well. But people's eyes are opening up. Our spiritual perspective is that the eyes of our understanding are enlightened, that we know the hope of God's calling for us as individuals, as Americans, and for this nation and for this world. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm locking down on. And I pray that over us every day. So, flowing together as one, there are those that want to sabotage what the majority of Americans want. We voted. We have a GOP trifecta. And the majority, that's how it is. Majority rules. And we don't go, the ones, okay, let me coin it and frame it even more. Christian, conservative, constitutionalists, we don't go around burning stuff down. We don't go around harming people physically. And we don't go around tearing up people's property. We realize, okay, democracy. We are the constitutional republic of the United States of America. We're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic of the United States of America. But democracy says, okay, we voted, the vote turned out this way, fair and square, and this is where we are, and we're moving forward. So there are those that want to sabotage what the majority of Americans want, which was a mandate. It's a commission. So we're going to dissect that. What does that mean? We got to get an understanding, and it's going to help our fellow Americans to get out of emotionalism. And our clinical perspective that we will dissect is talking about overcoming sabotage, because sabotage is to deliberately destroy, damage, or obstruct something, especially for a political or military advantage. Now, when Donald Trump won the election last November, many conservatives feared that we would see political violence in the streets right away. Well, kind of like the kind of Democrat-funded violence that fueled the summer of rage in 2020. Well, surprisingly, the streets weren't in an uproar. They were quiet immediately following his victory, but it wasn't because some of the left didn't want to fund political violence. In the beginning, they just simply couldn't. They couldn't, not in the beginning. Stick with me, we're going somewhere here. As President Trump issued executive order after executive order, reclaiming his rightful role as chief executive officer of the United States, that's the executive branch. His job is to enforce the laws. Now, as he began to do that, what's going on now, it really, when they were like, okay, he came out the gate running. Those 20 promises, obviously he had been working behind the scene, having things set up to be proactive on our behalf of our mandate. So, around February, there are some patterns that started unfolding. Oh, yeah. So, listen, let's dissect some things. The left is trying to stop him by filing lawsuit after lawsuit, getting judges who have been captured by the radical left and are now serving as nothing more than activists on a bench to issue nationwide injunctions. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. So, in other words, forget about we the people. Forget about the mandate. The election that was won fair and square. They're just like, listen, we're going to legislate from the bench. This is what we're dealing with. So the question of the day is, who is behind this effort to stop President Trump? Things don't just happen by chance, guys. They just don't. Now, You all may not know this person, but this is a very popular person. And I read and I research, and I don't just come on here just talking about any old thing. This is what we need to get away from. And you will not hear certain things on the news because they do not want us to understand. They don't want us to understand, but we're going to get some understanding up in here. Oh yeah, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom. But in all thy wisdom, get understanding. So stick with me. There's a gentleman in our nation. His name is Norman Eason. Norman Eason. Who is that? He's an attorney and a former United States ambassador to the Czech Republic. Most importantly, though, he's a Democrat operative who is buddies with the architects and the lawyers that stage the electioneering of the 2020 presidential election. There were dynamics going on with that. I'm not even going to spend my time on that. I've done podcasts on it. Y'all know it's true. Norm's group is the one behind the lawsuits, which are leading to the nationwide injunctions against President Trump's executive orders. Guys, this stuff is just not, y'all come on, y'all got common sense. We're adults. Things don't just happen by chance. It's like somebody's meeting at a table. They're discussing these things. They're talking about how can we execute and cause certain things to happen. And they got a plan. They got a plan. These things aren't happening by chance. So, to get the scoop on Norm Eason and his mastermind plotting to thwart the Trump administration, there's a lady named Liz Wheeler, who is a conservative political commentator. She's a podcaster, and she's an author, and she's an influencer, and she's informed, and she knows. Guys, turn the news off. Turn the mainstream media off. That they're part of they're arm of the liberal left. They're an arm of the Democratic Party. And just like with Joseph Goebbels, with Hitler, with the propaganda machine of the news of what they use, it's no different. It's no different. And they have an agenda. And so through the news, the lying, diabolical mainstream media, which Trump called out fake news, they have programmed the American people to keep us in a tailspin of emotionalism, and it's cloaked in lies. And that's what I get on here and talk about it. I don't even look at the news. I haven't looked at the news in 5 years. Okay, how it started for me, guys, I would listen to what people were saying. And I was like, no, I'm an intelligent woman. I can hear logic and deductive reason, and then I go and look at the news. I was like, that is not what was said. That is not what happened. That's what this whole thing about Trump is a racist. I heard what he said. I was looking at the live interviews, and then I saw what they were pushing on the news. Diabolical liars that put this nation in a tailspin. Same thing that Joseph Goebbels, who was the minister of propaganda for Adolf Hitler, did the same thing. And look at where it got him. So, I'm telling you, when we slow down to just dissect things and look at facts and use basic logic and deductive reason, we're going to come to some different conclusions, and we will be empowered with knowledge and understanding. So Liz Wheeler is one of those. So, as I say, she's a conservative political commentator. She's a podcaster and an author. She invited a legal scholar, Dr. John Eastman, and journalist and veteran White House correspondent Fred Lucas on her show, The Liz Wheeler Show. Now, according to Dr. Eastman, these nationwide injunctions issued by lower court judges, they're illegal. And they see, this is what they did. Obama did it. What Obama did with DOMA was illegal. He just told Eric Holden one day, we're no longer going to uphold and defend DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act. And you know where that took us. His job was to uphold DOMA. He ignored it. That's just one big blatant example. Look at where we are now. And even how that agenda went to another level with Kevin Jennings as the first safe school czar, who had as a goal in 1999 in the book Queering Elementary Education, he said, I have a goal to saturate the minds of kindergartners related to all matters regarding homosexuality. Why? Why would you want to focus on kindergartners? Okay, that's just what he said. And in 2009, he was appointed as the safe school czar. And if you look his name up, Kevin Jennings, and look at the network that he started, they wrote the curriculum that all of a sudden parents were seeing on screens when kids were home during COVID, and they were like, wait a minute, what are they teaching my kid at school? And this is why we're in a mess. It's just been a mess. But when you see all these facts and how it connects, you'll go, oh, I see how they pulled this off. How did this happen? Right under our nose. You don't pay attention. They're counting on it. But this is what the Democratic Party's always done. So, what they're doing is that they're trying to legislate from the bench, and it's illegal. A lot of what they've done is illegal, but when they were when Obama, no one challenged him. I had people tell me, he's a black messiah. He's a black messiah. You know what I had people telling me? He's the last chance for black people, child. He's the last chance. I was like, oh my God, y'all are Christians. What are you talking about? That's what they told me. As my 101-year-old mama said, I'm just telling you what they told me. They said Obama was the last chance for black people. My God. I'll leave that right there. So he did things that were illegal. Biden did things that were illegal. Sending those people across the border, which Biden, Harris did, it was illegal. Illegal immigrants. Guys, if you look at the laws that are already on the books regarding that, there were people that were automatically supposed to be in jail, in prison for 10 years. True story. I'm going to go back and do a podcast on that because every time I keep thinking about it. So, yeah, I'll do that. So, stick with me. Let's keep going. Talking about the courts, what's going on, what they're trying to do. The lower courts are courts of limited jurisdiction, this expert says. They're limited by both geography, that is districts, and by the key provision in Article 3. We're talking about the Constitution. The judicial branch, the courts are supposed to operate as a branch of government, but it is as jurisdicted by the Constitution. The Congress on Capitol Hill, their job in the government is to make the laws. Judiciary is to interpret the laws. According to the Constitution, the executive branch, Donald John Trump and his cabinet thereof, is to enforce it. And that's what he's doing. And they're bucking and screaming because we've been so out of control 12 of the last 16 years. Stick with me. So, districts. Judges are in districts, and by the key provision in Article 3, the judicial article of our Constitution, which says that they can only address cases or controversies. Now, so they can't decide or impose obligations on people that are not parties to the case before them. Dr. Eastman explains, adding that what these lower courts have been doing and what they're doing right now, they want to keep everything tied up in the courts. That's how they're coming at Trump. The lower courts, what they're doing now regarding President Trump is outrageous. It's bound to be addressed by the Supreme Court. Now, the Trump administration did win a victory with the Supreme Court in April of 2025, this year. The U.S. Supreme Court delivered a major victory, allowing the administration to continue deporting what it says are Venezuelan gang members, which he declared as terrorist organization, as evidenced by what? By what they were doing. Wow. One of my podcasts, I'm going to give you the numbers of how many lost their lives the categorization of the types of crimes that they did, it's diabolical. Oh yeah, they were operating as a terrorist organization in here, and they were just running roughshod over us, and Kamala and Joe were bringing them right across the border, and we were paying for their housing, their health care, in some cases their child daycare, their food, and a free money card. Put them in luxury hotels in New York, Roosevelt Hotel, while veterans were living on the street. And 78% of Americans, working Americans, were living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet. Do you get understanding? Stick with me. I don't give 2 cents about really either party. I want facts. I'm concerned about America. And that's what I'm laying out, because I get it. I get it. I understand. So let's keep going. At issue in that case, in the case was, listen, President Trump's brilliant. And it's going to take time. Listen, we've been so out of control. That case that the Supreme Court ruled in his favor was a 1798 Alien Enemies Act, a controversial law invoked only 3 times in U.S. history, always during wartime. Well, if we got terrorist organizations coming across our borders and in our cities and ending the lives of our fellow Americans, are we in wartime? That 1798 Alien Enemies Act, yes, it was controversial. Yes, it was invoked only 3 times in U.S. history, and President Trump invoked it again. And it was during wartime when we were at threat, our safety. We're supposed to, and our military is in place to protect us from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. Did we have any domestic enemies? Now, it allows for the detention and deportation of foreign nationals from countries actively invading the United States. The Trump administration argued that the law applied to Venezuelan gang members who were deemed to be invading the nation. The opposition received by the president falls under what he dealt with during his first time. The first time in office, his first term, orchestrated lawfare. Orchestrated lawfare. That's what our president, Donald Trump, has been dealing with. And y'all over here, some of you, I appreciate you listening, because y'all are hungry. You're like, look, is Janice Pons crazy? No, I'm informed. And I'm getting on here and talking about it. I want us all to be informed. It helps us to flow together as one, forming a more perfect union. That's what that is. So, they want us to believe he is just so silly, so stupid. No, he's a victim, and what they've attacked him with is orchestrated lawfare. It's so obvious. So this lawfare, Dr. Eastman explains, is designed to deprive the American people of the results of the election that they consented to. Yeah. The election results, he said, were a mandate to President Trump to do exactly the kind of things he's doing. By blocking his executive orders, the lower courts are aiming to, here's their aim, to stop the American people from exercising their sovereign power. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. And it is about as undemocratic a move as one can imagine. And guess who's behind it? This man, Norm Eason. Look, guys, these people meet. These people, just ain't, come on, use some common sense here. Fred Lucas says that Eason has a large web of money, and some people call it dark money, nonprofits that are engaged in lawfare, largely targeted at Trump. These NGOs, non-government organizations, For example, $2 billion under the Biden administration, $2 billion was earmarked to go to one of those NGOs, non-governmental organizations that Stacey Abrams would have been over. What do you think her salary would have been that was coming out of my paycheck and yours? This is what they've been doing. That's why they just trying to keep you distracted. And Obama was up there a few weeks ago talking in code. Talking in code. Go on my Facebook page and look him up. Oh, yeah. I posted on it because it's like, whoa, that post really took off. Because, we got wisdom, but boy, that post gives you some understanding. He talks in code, always has. I can hear it, see it a mile away. You don't even have to have any discernment. But then if you have some anointed discernment, you're going to really get it. You're going to see it. So, this targeted lawfare that Eason has been orchestrating and perpetrating, he's the one out executing, but it's a group. His coalition is actually part of a larger coalition that's being run by, write this name down, Mark Elias. And the organization is called Civil Service Strong, which is largely focused on defending the deep state employees. Yeah, this is known if you just get out of the news and listen. A peek into Eason's past puts the puzzle pieces in place. Now, we're talking about wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, but in all that get understanding, let's use logic. But guys, listen, get out of your emotions, get out of these parties and listen to facts. And then you will use logic and deductive reasoning. Now, a peek into Eason's past helps us to see the puzzle pieces. It puts them in place. Not only was he part of the team that went after impeaching President Trump in 2019, but he was also a part of the Obama White House. Obama has always been involved these last 16 years. It is not hard to prove. So he was a part of Obama's White House, where he served first as ethics czar, and then ambassador to the Czech Republic. Prior to that, he was one of the founding members of Citizens, what was the name of that? Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. And I go, as defined by what? As evidenced by what? This is the same organization that last year tried to get President Trump kicked off the ballot in various states, including Colorado. Oh, yeah. Do you think we need to understand these things? All of these dynamics are real and are aimed at not respecting the results of the election and what the majority of we the people wanted. We must remember that things don't just happen by chance to make efforts to destroy our nation by things such as the onslaught of illegal immigration. This leads us to our clinical perspective tonight. What we're saying is an effort to once again, listen to me, to sabotage our nation and to sabotage our president. That's what's going on. So our clinical perspective is overcoming sabotaging. Oh yeah, overcoming it. To overcome someone sabotaging you, there are many things to consider. What would happen if we identified the behavior clearly, document evidence, address the person directly with specific concerns, set boundaries, firm boundaries, consider seeking support from trusted colleagues or superiors, and if necessary, remove ourselves from situations if that will help? What would happen if you always prioritize maintaining your professionalism and focus on your own positive contributions while not letting the saboteurs, a person trying to do the sabotaging, not letting their actions derail your progress? This is why we got to keep praying for Donald Trump. He's doing better this term. He blasted out some stuff during that first term. I think he's more settled. I think he's more mature. I believe what happened to him in July of last year in Butler, Pennsylvania, did something within his soul. Keep him in prayer. That man is fighting for us. But see, those of you who've been caught up in your emotions, you don't understand the whole picture. But after tonight, you will. What would happen if we considered key steps that could be taken? What about if we recognize the sabotage? Be aware of the specific actions that constitute sabotage, such as spreading of rumors, undermining your work, excluding you from important information, or taking credit for your ideas. What would happen if we gathered evidence? Can you see how this fits in with President Trump and all these challenges he's been presented with? And it even connects to our own private lives, our professional lives. Oh, yeah. These are survival skills, strategy skills, and tools just for our consideration. You know, I always put that disclaimer. This is not therapy. I'm just provoking thought. This podcast is about provoking thought, bringing awareness, and considering things for intervention. Our first intervention is prayer in this nation. Oh, yeah. And do you see why we need it? What would happen if we gathered evidence? I've been there before where it's like, okay, y'all trying to sabotage me. I've been there. It was a whole lot of motivation behind it. I've done podcasts about it before. I'm not going to go there tonight. But I tell you what, I started documenting some things. And I won every time because I had to learn how to fight effectively in a very professional manner. But see, some folk want you to cuss somebody out and turn some tables over. Oh, no, that's not me. And it's not going to be our president either. So he needs to be measured. He needs to be focused. That's why we got to pray for him. So If we're gathering evidence, document instances of sabotage with dates, times, and details of what happened, it can support your claims if necessary. Sometimes you have to have direct confrontation. I saw him doing that in the White House, right there with a news person. Good. Make them uncomfortable with bona fide, straight up, valid questions. If you feel comfortable, calmly approach a person, let's say a person, and clearly state your concerns about their behavior, outlining specific examples. And even in that White House interaction, that's exactly what he did with that news report. He just called him. I said, he said, this is why nobody watching y'all anymore. That's why he gets kind of raw. I love it. They've never been confronted before in previous administrations, not like this. What would happen if we set boundaries, clearly communicating what behaviors that we're not going to tolerate and what actions we'll take if the sabotage continues? What would happen if we sought out support, talk to trusted colleagues, mentors, or superiors about the situation to gain perspective and potentially get their assistance in addressing an issue? What would happen if we focus on our work? What would happen if we don't let the saboteurs' actions distract us from our goals? President Trump's got goals, and we continue to perform, and he continues to perform at his best optimal level, and us as well, and demonstrate our value. That man's got a lot of value, and they want to paint him as a goofball and a doofus, and he's not. He's not. He's brilliant. What would happen if we document and escalate if necessary? If issues are not resolved, consider documenting further instances of sabotage and escalate the matter to HR. I've had to do that in my career. It's like, okay, this is not my lane anymore. I need to get HR and pass the baton to them, because that, man, I'm going to tell you. And you know, my HR director where I worked, she said something to me that I was like, God, that is so good. She said that sometimes the lines can get blurred, and we're trying to be supportive. And yes, we are. We're to be that way. But sometimes blurred lines can make you enable situations that you should not. Oh, yeah. And so HR, that's their lane. They go to trainings for that. Okay, that's good. I'm going to leave that right there. So it takes care, it covers you. And this is why Trump has cabinet members. This is why he has the director of the FBI, you got the AG, you got these different things. Oh yeah, these different people and functions. What would happen if you consider distancing yourself? If a situation gets too toxic or the sabotage is persistent, evaluate if removing yourself from the dynamic is the best course of action. Here's some important considerations. If you maintain professionalism, okay, what would happen if you did that? If you maintained it, stayed focused, face set like flint? What would happen if you avoid engaging in retaliatory behavior or gossip and always conduct yourself with integrity? What would happen if you engage in self-reflection where you analyze if there's any aspect of your own behavior that might inadvertently contribute to the situation? That's being honest. What would happen if you seek professional help if you need it? If the sabotage is significantly impacting your mental health, and it can, or well-being, and it can, consider consulting a therapist or counselor. You can go to JanicePons.com, go to the resource page. I've got it set up, done the research for you. You can click in where you're from, and you can find a therapist. The therapeutic process is some of the most powerful things that I've seen people do in their lives, and it can change you. Ask me how I know. I just had to dissect some trauma that had gone on in my life decades ago. And boy, did God meet me front and center there. Powerful. And a lot of people I know have done this, and they've changed. It'll go to the core of your soul, your mind, your will, your emotions, your intellect, your drive, and your desires. Yeah. What have we looked at tonight? The mandate of we the people. And a mandate is simply a commission to do something. The course of walking out a mandate that was direly needed to turn this nation around evokes so many emotions from so many angles, and people who want to keep us divided and not forming a more perfect union, which simply means us flowing together as one. They want to sabotage what the majority of Americans wanted. And our clinical perspective is being how do you overcome sabotage? Guys, listen, do you see what's been going on? Listen, we're going somewhere. Yes, we are. And it's expecting us when we get there. So we're going to keep showing up. We're going to get understanding. Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom. But in all that getting, get understanding. We're going to keep showing up because I'm having such a ball with this. Thank you again for the downloads on the podcast on those platforms out there, Apple and so forth and so on. I found out recently in the most recent analysis that the podcast has grown 1,320%. To God be the glory. That blows me away. I'm so humbled, so blessed, so honored. Thank you. I love you. I appreciate you for supporting me. Thank you, Egypt. Shout out to Egypt, Singapore, Finland, Australia, Africa, and the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America. Listen, we're going somewhere. Yes, we are. I love this. Keep coming back. I'll see you next week. God bless America. God bless you. I'll see you next week. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.
We are one power, strength is ours, liberty, been set free, education, affirmation, dedication, information.